Hello there, I'm really excited to bring you this special module on arranging hymns for the modern church. You know, hymns are fantastic things. They cover an incredible sort of theological range. They're just sheer poetry. I was looking at a hymn just a couple of days ago by Charles Wesley, and I stood there in amazement looking at the words thinking, my goodness, this is unbelievable poetry. And a lot of the hymns have not only deep theology, but they also have incredible poetry. They are beautiful pieces of music. They often have beautiful lyrics. And you know, many churches these days throw them out. They just chuck them away and they just say, well, they're old. And we don't want to do those because they're old-fashioned. But I think if you can find a way to incorporate those incredible hymns into your modern style of worship, then you will be in a very good place. In fact, every year I go to a place called Trout Creek in Oregon, and I speak at a summer camp over there. And the kids get up there and they have this incredible worship time before we do chapel and before I speak. Maybe junior high, senior high kids. And one of the most popular songs is a song called Nothing But the Blood of Jesus. You know why? They've made it into a big rock song and they've made it their own. And so you've got these kids down the front, you know, the guy leading will sing, what can wash away my sins? And the kids are going, nothing but the blood of Jesus. And they have a mosh pit at the front. They just love it. And it's a hymn. It's an old hymn. But they haven't thrown it out saying it's too old. They've adapted it to our modern society. And I think you need to do that too in your church. If your church doesn't do hymns, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're missing out on incredible history, on amazing music and lyrics. You're just missing out. Your people will be worse off. Your people will be, less, they will experience God less, if you like, if you throw the hymns out. They've worked for 300, 400, 500 years. If you adapt the music, they will still work today. And, maybe some of the lyrics. Throw out the these and thous. I'm actually just bringing out an album right now that's just all hymns, and it's just people are responding to that. They're loving it. They love the old hymns done in a modern fashion. So this is a secret for your church. You can actually link the contemporary and the more traditional by using hymns in your church. Sometimes if you do a hymn as a sort of a rocky type song, people will say, oh, you're worried that the oldies perhaps will say, oh, that's not how I used to sing it. I've found the opposite. I've found the old people say, the young people are grabbing our song and making it their own, and they get excited about it. Now you might have to change some of the lyrics, throw out the these and the thous and the doeths and that sort of stuff, beeth, because we don't talk that way anymore. But you can put in a you instead of a thee or a thou. You can put in do instead of doeth. And you can change the lyrics but still maintain the integrity of what was written in those lyrics, but also the incredible poetry. These guys were amazing poets, such as, I venture to say we almost don't have today, certainly in the church. So look, over the years as a worship leader, I've come to appreciate hymns not only for their depth of lyric, but also for the way that that many of their tunes and so on are constructed. But you can't just churn them out like funeral marches, okay? If you do that, you're going to run into problems. So let me give you a few tips to help you make hymns an incredible part of your worship. And right at the start, I would say word of caution. Many churches, particularly traditional churches, they divide their worship into a couple of sections. They say, here's young people, you do your songs there, and then when the real service starts, we'll chop that and we'll go to the old organ, and we'll churn out these old hymns, and I caution you on that. Because what that's doing is that's young people's music, old people's music. That's their music, our music. And what you're doing is you're driving a wedge between the people in your church. How much better to get the young people doing hymns in a more modern way? Because you're combining, you're looking for unity there, and you're combining the two elements of your church together. The young people and the hymns, and you're putting them together. And I've found older people respond very much to that. The young people are doing our song, this is great. Most older people realise that music has moved on from the traditional, organ playing in the corner sort of scenario. So take advantage of that. Let's take some of your old songs, but let us do it in a new and a fresh way. And it doesn't have to be rocky, and it doesn't have to be loud. You can do it with an acoustic guitar, the album that I'm just doing at the moment. I'm doing Psalm 23, which is a beautiful old hymn, and I'm doing it just, with an acoustic guitar. The Lord's my shepherd. It's just beautiful. Let me give you a demo. Hang on a tick. Now, I haven't got a strap here, so you'll have to bear with me. This is my recording guitar. But it just goes like, the Lord's my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me down to lie in pastures green. He leadeth me the quiet waters by. That's a beautiful acoustic song. But the older people are loving the fact that young people are doing their music. So let me give you some, while I have my guitar in my hand, without a strap I might add, let me give you a few keys as to how you can make hymns acceptable in the modern church. Number one, simplify them. Now, originally when hymns were written, they pretty much had a different chord for every word of the hymn. Okay? And we don't do it that way these days. It was written for an organ, and it would change every single word of the hymn. And the first thing you've got to do is just simplify it, please. There's a number of different songs that I could use as an example of this. But I mean, if I just take any song, even Then Sings My Soul, they would go, then sings my soul, my Saviour God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. We don't play it like that. You can put a good rhythm behind it and make it simple. In the key of A, then sings my soul, my Saviour God, to thee. So I've chopped out all the intervening chords. How great thou art, how great thou art. Now I took all those chords and I chopped them back to just 3 chords. A, D, and E. It's really easy to do. Your musicians will love you if you go ahead and just simplify the things. My goodness, why does it have to be so complicated? So the first step in adapting hymns into a modern day church is simplify. Chop out all those little joining things that's on every single word, put a basic chord across those, and you'll find it a whole heap easier. Another thing is chord writers used to love to use the 7th chord. Okay, now a 7th is cool. A 7th can sound like, it can take and sort of make it into a rock song. So that's what a 7th does, right? But it can also completely mess up the song, and especially if you are, the example that I think of is Rugged Cross, and they want to put in a 7th all over the place. So. And again, once again, they're doing it for every single note. So they want to play in the original, on a hill far away, lives an old rugged cross. Whereas I would just play it in straight chords. Then that's a 7th to start with. On a hill far away, stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. So what I'm doing is I'm tossing a lot of those little incidental 7ths out and simplifying it. The third thing you can do is chord substitutions. Now, if you sit down and read, these guys were great musicians, probably way better than you or I will ever be, okay? Now, if you sit down and read the chord structure that they put behind it, and it depends on the harmonies they were singing, all this sort of stuff at the time, You know, people like Charles West and even classical guys like Beethoven and stuff, they thought on a different level to what most of us rock guys do. So what you can do is toss out all the chords, simplify all the chords. So if you see a C seventh, a C ninth, a C plus 2, a C suspended, you can just put a C in there a lot of times. Okay? If you see, you know, a ninth or a second, they're little incidental chords you can throw in. But, you know, you can really do your head in trying to play all of the chords as written in the original. Chuck them out, simplify. So, first of all, simplify the chords, the number of chords. Secondly, toss the sevenths and all those little incidental chords. And thirdly, take all the C ninths and just play C. Trust me, just play C. It'll sound great. Just play whatever the chord is. Forget the ninths and all that sort of stuff. Every now and then you'll want to throw, in fact, as you learn them, you'll want to throw them in. But when you're starting out, certainly for a modern church, keep them nice and simple. Now, the next thing you can do is lower the keys. My goodness, some of these things were written for like opera singers, and some were written for people. And in our modern day and age, many people sing a lot lower than what the original song was written in. So drop the key, you know, just lower it down. I hear people singing, you know, so for example, How Great Thou Art. They want to do it in B flat. They want to do it in C sometimes, you know. Then sings my soul, my Savior God. Now that's nice, but it's high because most people want to go, then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. Drop it to a key that your people are happy with. Okay, now if you minister to a church of opera singers, by all means, jack it up to a high key. But for most of us, put it in a key that people are comfortable with. Next up, do a bit of a groove behind it. Now, if we take How Great Thou Art, this is in a lower key for those of us who sing in normal keys, right? But if you do it in the original, it's like, then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. I will put a rhythm behind it. Now that's a great song to do as a rock song. You can do it as, you know, put some real grunt behind it and people love it. It just goes off. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. So you got that. Put a great rhythm behind it. Put a good groove behind it. There's lots of songs you can put all sorts of grooves behind it. Now on my new album, this is the one that springs to mind right now, my new album, there's a beautiful old hymn called To God Be the Glory. And I tried about 15 different ways to make it work, and it just never worked for me in the studio. I spent hours looking at this thing going, I love the song, I hate what I've done with it. And then I thought, it's a 3/4 song. Now 3/4 is often difficult to put into a modern context. But it's a song that's in 3/4. I thought, what can I do? And I actually made it into, inspired by a song by Paul McCartney and Wings called Mull of Kintyre, I made it into a ballady guitar thing, even with the bagpipes in the middle. So what I did was, I went like this. To God be the glory, great things He has done. So loved He the world that He gave us His Son. And so I went through and made it into this lopey sort of folk song almost. But it took it out of the hymn area and it made it into... So you can do anything with hymns, but make them modern. Put a modern beat, a modern groove behind it. You want to hip up that old 100-year-old masterpiece? Put a modern groove behind it. People will love it. And as I say, you know, instead of going, what can wash away my sin? You know, what can wash away my sin? And you put that groove behind it. It works really, really well. Now, another thing is to add a bar. A lot of hymns finished on the tonic or the main chord. And give Him the glory, great things He has done. Great thing. Now, we don't use pauses like that in modern music. So I would put an extra bar or two in there. And give him the glory, great things he has done. You see, and you add a little bar in there, and so the band keeps loping along. There's not this big pregnant pause when everyone's not sure exactly when to come in. Like when you go to one of those pauses, things he has done. Great things, you know, and who knows how long that thing is. So those pregnant pauses we basically don't use in modern music. So get rid of them and flow through with an extra bar, or you can even add a whole refrain. You know, you don't have to do verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. You can do verse, chorus, verse, chorus, chorus. Key change, verse, chorus, chorus. You know, this idea that we have to do it exactly as it's written, it's crazy. Even modern songs, don't do them the way they're written. Make them your own. Take that thing and make it a part of you and your church. I've done that a couple of times. In fact, there's a beautiful version that I do on the new album, which is the song When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, but instead of When I survey the wondrous cross, it's not that one. I do a version, it's Cliff Richard did it as The Water Is Wide. When I survey the when I survey the wondrous cross. And so I put a different tune to it, completely different tune, a more traditional tune, but it's a tune that's in 4/4 and it just lopes along. It's a really nice tune. So that's something that you can also consider doing. So there are lots of things that you can do to make hymns really, really special. What you need to not do is just try and reproduce what they've written in that original form. Take it, make it modern. Let me just run through those things again so that you know what we're talking about. Simplify, get rid of all those thousands of chords they put in. Then toss the seventh chords and the little incidental chords. Put substitute chords in instead of all these weird chords. Just put straight chords in. And this makes it easier for your musicians as well. Lower the keys. That makes it easier for your singers. Don't finish on those pregnant pauses. Add a bar or two, even add a refrain. And finally, rewrite it. You can rewrite the whole thing. Just use the words and rewrite a different tune to it. There's a lot of ways you can incorporate hymns. I'm not saying do wall-to-wall hymns in your church, but if you want to join the older people and the younger people, if you want to bless all of them, start doing one hymn every service, but do it in a modern way. The young people, I've even done hymns and young people have come up to me and said, "That's a great new song. Where'd you get that? That's an awesome new song." I said, "Really? New? Like it's like 400 years old." Not so new. So you can, the young people will be blessed because they're incredible songs. Any way you cut it, they're incredible songs. And of course the old people will be blessed because they'll be singing songs they know and love, songs they've grown up with, but they're done in a new and a fresh way. So don't ignore hymns, please. Incorporate them into your modern church. And I hope you've enjoyed this module. I love hymns. I'm doing a whole album on them. What can I say? I love them. But they've got to be done right. And if you do them right, I guarantee you it will enhance the journey towards worship that you take people on. It will enhance what you're doing in your church. You will be blessed. They will be blessed. Don't ignore the hymns. They're awesome. Incorporate them. Make them modern. Make them your own. We'll catch you in the next module.